I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Fanbase is a free to download, free to use, next generation social media platform that allows anyone to have followers and subscribers on the same page. Fanbase was built through investment dollars from equity crowdfunding from the Jobs Act. People just like you helped build Fanbase, and we're looking for more people to help build Fanbase. We are currently raising $17 million in a Regulation A crowdfund on Start Engine. We've already crossed $2.1 million, but we're looking to raise more capital from people just like you that deserve the opportunity to invest in early stage startups without having to be accredited investors. So right now, I'd like you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase right now, today. And then use Fanbase to connect with friends, grow your audience, and be you without limits.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Monday, December 16th, 2024, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. MAGA, oh, they say, look at this. There's proof the FBI, they were involved in January 6th. They even got Stephen A. Smith agreeing with him. All of them are wrong and they're lying. I'm going to break it all down for you. Speaking of lying, a former member of the Democratic National Committee's Finance Committee has been trashing Vice President Kamala Harris, dogging Democrats. The real deal? She's just sucking up and kissing Fox News' ass, all for a contract. Yep, I'm going to expose her as well. Also, coming on today's show, I'm going to deal with another issue. You guys, a whole lot been bothering me. So, the left, folks like with the Young Turks, have been playing footsie with the right. They've also been attacking the far left, which is weird because they're actually the far left. So it's a whole lot I got to unpack. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now.
You have Elon Musk, mom. Get it ready.
He's Roland Martin now.
Elon Musk is from apartheid South Africa. And one of the things that he has spent a lot of time focusing on are declining birth rates around the country. Why is that? Well, it's fairly easy. Elon Musk desperately wants more white babies born in America and the world. Again, that's no shock because he's from South Africa, apartheid South Africa. If you don't believe me, here's his ignorant mama on Fox News.
and you were recently getting a lot of attention because there was a comedian online who said, listen, I get it. People don't want to have, they're talking about the birth rate, which your son talks a lot about, it declining and the problems for humanity with that. And you said to his response about it being too expensive to have kids, you said, that's not the way to think about this. Explain.
Well, you know, when I had my children, we were in a two-bedroom small apartment overlooking a garage. And then the next year, I have a second child, we had an apartment with a view. And then by the third child, we could get a two-bedroom house. And you just, you know, as you move on, you start doing better and better. But people, you know, you don't have to go to the movies. You don't have to go out for dinner. You can just spend time with the most wonderful gifts you can ever have as a children.
You didn't.
Okay. All right. So here's the issue with that. And we have to understand when we talk about these declining birth rates. The reality is that we have been seeing declining birth rates in the United States. We're seeing this really from white people in the United States. Now, one of the things that we saw in the 1950s, we had an average, a woman was having an average of 5 babies. Now it's down to 2.2. And so Elon keeps saying, we can't have this, we can't have this. But then you got to ask the question, well, where are they having kids? A lot of Latino countries, huh? A lot of African nations, huh? Let's think about China. China actually changed their law 30 plus years ago, 1 child. Actually, that was kind of stupid because what they didn't realize is that in about 30 years, you're going to have a problem because you can't replace your population. And that's exactly where they face. You got folks who are living in rural China, a lot of the younger folks moving into cities. And so they have a serious population issue there, and they rescinded that rule. But really what this is all about is Elon Musk speaking the language of the Republican Party. Why are they so against abortion? White people aborting babies. This is about how do you continue to maintain control. It is about control. And so why are they so adamant against migrants coming to the United States? Because that means the nation becomes browner. But not necessarily the nation becoming browner. Because what we have to understand is that there are white Hispanics. And white Hispanics who typically adopt the ways of white people. Because when you think about colonialism, you think about racism, whiteness works. It does. It works. There was a video I saw over the weekend, and there was a young man who is Mexican. And in the video, he was talking about what it means to be brown, to be dark-skinned. I'm gonna play the video of you for a second. We have to understand what's going on here. And so when you hear all of this talk about declining birth rates, I need you to understand the motivating factor for all of this. And it is to maintain whiteness. And so a lot of the attacks against immigration, it is what? They don't want them brown people here. What did Donald Trump say before, last time he was in Oval Office? What did he say? Why can't we get folks from Sweden or Denmark? You say, wait a minute, those are white countries. That's what you got going on. White folks coming into the country. He can't stand African immigrants. He doesn't want immigrants from Haiti. He doesn't want immigrants for the Caribbean. He doesn't want immigrants for Bermuda. No. The Republican Party, they want white people. Haitian immigrants. Positively impacting Springfield, Ohio. Oh, no. We need them Negroes gone. I need y'all to understand what you're about to see. You need to understand the deportation efforts, all the talk about, oh, they're taking jobs and it's housing. No, this is about maintaining whiteness in America. See, what you're seeing right now in the United States, we've actually seen in the past 10 to 15 years. Y'all might not pay much attention, but I did. There were massive protests happening all around Europe. What are the protests about? They were protesting African immigrants. Because guess what? Declining birth rates in Italy, Germany, Ireland, the UK, or the European nations. They were angry with these African immigrants coming in. But guess what? The reality is when you have declining birth rates, a nation has to replace the people in order to continue to maintain your GDP, your gross domestic product. If you don't have people who are doing the jobs, then you're going to be in trouble. The Elon Musk of the world, they care about white people who aren't having babies. And that's exactly what you heard there. I want to bring my panel right now. I'm Congo DeBean, Senior Professor of Lecture School of International Service, American University. Lawyer Candace Kelly, Lawyer Jade Mathis. Glad to have all of y'all here. I mean, this is real clear, Candace. And I don't think people need to understand when you hear these discussions about declining birth rates. They don't give a damn about black people. They don't give a damn about brown people. This is about maintaining whiteness in America and, frankly, in Europe.
So listen, we are talking, Roland, about declining birth rates. We're also talking about the increase of the death rates within the white population. And this is what we call a culture shift. This is a culture shift that people are recognizing that they need to do something about. And I think that when we talk about anybody who is brown skinned, and I know that you're about to run that clip, that if you are in any way black or brown, close to it, anything that is anything other than being white, you are going to be dealt a lesser hand. I think that they are somewhere trying to figure out what happened. How did we let this happen? But as we know, culture shifts happen all the time. We are in the middle of a culture shift right now when we transition on January 20th. A culture shift happened after George Floyd. People, they changed, they were about face when it came to DEI. There's always culture shifts that we are living in. This is a huge one. And this is why we are hearing this rhetoric that's kind of really hidden. But you are right in that the bottom line is that white people, as we know them, those rates are declining. And when we see less of them, we're talking about generations from now, everything will shift. It's just a numbers game. It's inevitable that everything will shift if you have fewer people who are mating and procreating people who would be considered white in this world. And again, when we think about whiteness, we're not talking about ethnicity. Sometimes we are, but when we think about it in the context of Mexicans or Indians, it is the lighter, the better. It has nothing to do sometimes with the race that you are almost brought in, and they recognize this.
See, a lot of folks, again, don't really pay attention to what these things mean, Congo. Go to my iPad, Anthony. This is a piece that was in Politico in July 2024, the political shockwaves of America's falling birth rates. And so when you go here, this is what it says. Dangerous and destabilizing. Social Security insolvency, less economic growth, a smaller and older workforce. They say those are some of the long-term economic consequences demographers and economists say the U.S. could face if Donald Trump makes good on a central tenet of his campaign platform, significantly cutting immigration levels and increasing deportations. Now, when you go here and you look at this here, you'll begin to understand it. So when J.D. Vance was complaining about childless cat ladies and said that them not having children is catastrophic for the country, he talking about white women. And look at this here. He said, if your society is not having enough children to replace itself, that is a profoundly dangerous and destabilizing thing, he said in an interview with Megyn Kelly. But guess what? What is the answer to that? Immigration is one of those answers. Look at this here. According to a January report from the Congressional Budget Office, immigration is almost entirely responsible for keeping the population at steady state or growing levels through 2054, even as a U.S. fertility rate continues to fall. This is very simple. The numbers decrease. The United States saw a decrease in the number of births from 2002. It's down to 1.6 births per woman over the course of a lifetime. Right here. That's far below what the rate needed to keep the U.S. population at replacement levels. See, the issue here, Congo, is not that, with immigration, they're being replaced. The question is, whom are they replacing? And what do people look like? The reality is that Republicans have no problem if the people coming into America are white.
Exactly.
They're white.
And
so I actually don't know. I think I'm having an issue with Omakongo's. Omakongo, you there? Omakongo, you there? Guys, double check.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, now we can hear you. There was an issue with your signal. They want white people. And I just need black people to understand what's going on here. They want white people. They want white people to replace the white people who are not being born. That's what they want. Looks like I'm having an issue with Omakongo's feed. Let me go to Jade. Jade, that same question for you. People need to understand what's being said, what's being unsaid, but being said.
Yeah, absolutely, Roland. The one thing that I thought about that I don't think they factored in is that as of the 2022 census, we now have 33.8 million people who are biracial in the United States, right? So when we're talking about the people that they want to increase, the percentage in, like you said, they're talking about a particular set of people, right? They're talking about white people who look like them, but not only those who look like them, those who are at an economic advantage as them, right? So those who they think they're going to bring some value to them. So those who are not going to be able to do the black jobs and the Hispanic jobs, right? But then if you're talking about immigration and deporting the ones who are doing the Hispanic jobs, then who's going to be left to do what you consider the Hispanic and black jobs? But by the way, I hope you consider the large amount of biracial people in the United States as that continues to grow.
So again, watch this here. Look at this here. Go to my iPad. This was a report the Biden White House put together May 2024. A first principles look at historically low U.S. fertility and its macroeconomic implications. Folks, what we're talking about here is economics, and it shows it right here. The U.S. birth rate declined to its lowest level in history. This data point is the most recent in the trend of falling U.S. fertility rates since 2017. It says observers have noted that low fertility and the aging population that it generates implies fewer workers per capita and creates significant headwinds to economic growth, the fiscal sustainability of a public benefit programs, and the trend of continuous improvements in living standards as reflected in per capita incomes. So let me unpack that, and people need to understand this, Congo. So if you're 30 years old right now, okay, you're paying into Social Security. Retirement is what? Is it 65, 67? Maybe they raised it to 70, okay? But let's just say it's 65. That now means you're going to retire in 35 years. Mm-hmm. In order for you to retire in 35 years, you're going to need people working in 35 years, paying into the system so you can get paid. The problem is, if you continue to see a drop in U.S. fertility rates, if you are not replacing those people, the person who's 30 today, when they become 65, you ain't having nobody pay into a system. But so that's one piece of it. But again, the Elon Musk of the world and people like him and Republicans, Donald Trump and others, they have no issue with white people coming into America. They do not want black and brown people.
Absolutely. I mean, I haven't heard any stories about when people talking about cracking down on illegal immigrants. I haven't heard them say anything about the over 200,000 Irish immigrants who are in New York and cracking down on them. There's never a conversation about that. And the roots of this country are rooted in that. Remember last year, Roland, when the National Genealogical Society had to come out with an apology because they said their whole organization was founded on the importance of white purity. That's why they were testing genes. And so that's the history of it. You know, Julian Bond said America spells out I am race if you switch out the letters. Donald Trump is running on an age-old idea in America. And you started out with Elon Musk's mom. Elon Musk was born in, 1971? So she's talking about raising 2 white children in South Africa. I think she's going to be all right no matter how she had those children. So this idea that they are this party of, purity. Yes, purity for the continual growth of white children. And they don't care. And that's why they want to have these anti-abortion laws, because at the end of the day, they believe that it's going to help more white women reproduce. But these black and brown kids that reproduce, put them out, you got prisons for that. Right? You got a poor educational system. You got things that may happen with police misconduct. I heard one of these politicians say over the weekend, we need more Daniel Pennies out there because we got too many Jordan Neelys. So they already have a plan for population control for many of us. And so the more honest we are about this, the more we can actually tackle this situation. And we have a president that's coming in who ran on whiteness. Look at me and my beautiful white skin. I'm more white than Giannis Antetokounmpo from the Milwaukee Bucks. And if we're not honest with this, it's going to be too late for too many of us. And so the fact that you're leading with this tonight is extremely important, because they have a plan for population control, and they have a plan for making sure that those numbers, ever since those reports came out, Roland, that said by 2050 something, white folks are going to be in a minority, they've been losing their mind. And that great replacement theory and everything you talk about in your book, White Fear, is coming to fruition. And now they have their avatar, who they believe is going to usher them into this new stage of the continual growth of white people at the expense of black and brown people. But I got news for them. It's not going to happen.
So, Candace, you see the widening of the wage gap when you look at the concerns about the environment and climate change. You hear young people say, I'm not trying to have kids. You look at the housing crisis in America right now. They're saying, I don't want kids. And so folk have to understand, if a person does not believe that they're going to have a sound economic footing in the future, then they're not going to be getting married. They're not going to be having children. And so all of these people, look, Donald Trump's going to have 11 billionaires working somewhere in his administration. They're going to sit and be trying to rape the government, okay? We know exactly what's going to happen here. They want to get richer. And so the same people who are complaining about low fertility rates don't want to do anything about the declining values in the country when it comes to wages, when it comes to housing, when it comes to affordability. And when you don't do anything to stop guns, when you got kids who are being shot and killed in a Christian school, even more so these things are happening. And so folk need to wake up and recognize why people are not having children. And that is because they do not believe they're going to have a stable economic future in moving forward. Candace?
Oh, that was for me. I missed your word there. Listen, that is one of the big holes in this idea that we haven't talked about. Now we are. And that is not really being talked about on a large scale. And that is, even if you have the influx of people, they're making decisions that are falling within their means. People don't understand that there are folks out there who are making decisions between $5 gas, $5 eggs, whether or not they're going to eat. It used to be 20 years ago that $100,000 would do something. Not today, not if you live in Chicago, New York City, LA, I'm in Jersey, not with these property taxes. You do have to be somebody who is married, somebody who is stable, then at that point, where are you living? You're worrying about your education system. Do you have to pay for that? Was it like me, where I had the opportunity to go to a public school and everything became fine? Are you in the middle of some lottery system that you have to be a part of? Can you afford the life that you are living? And as you get older, are you really able to have children? Because we have an education system that is telling us you have to get this education, and that undergraduate degree is not going to be enough. You now have to get a graduate degree, and then you have loans that you now have to pay for that are just holding you by the neck, and then everything becomes at a standstill. So regardless of how many people you bring in that you would like and hope will mate with each other, there's so many societal issues that you have to understand exist that is still going to stop people from doing that. It's the same thing that are stopping people today. It is all a question of economics, and we saw this rise to the top with the election. People wanted to know, how much money, more money can I make with the president of my choice? And that's why so many people, whether they were young, educated people, women and men, African-American men especially, who crossed right on over because it was a question about economics.
Jay, here's interesting here. This is a study that was done. Let me pull this up. And this is from 2009. So I just want people to understand that this was being stated 15 years ago. And what I love about this is that I'm sitting here looking at it, and it jumps out. It says, although recent data shows that birth rates in the UK have increased, this is predominantly due to immigration. So there are still serious concerns about long-term replacement. It says there are two potential means of addressing the problem of providing a young, productive workforce able to generate income to provide the social care for the old and infirm. One of those ways is immigration. It says the first is to find ways of increasing the birth rate. This is essentially a long-term solution, but one which should provide more steady and predictable results. The second is to encourage immigration of a predominantly young and skilled workforce. Now, what does it say? The declining birth rate is not unique to Britain and Western European countries. Countries like Japan have a similar concern. And this is what it says. There are several factors, such as lifestyle factors, and an increase in sexually transmitted diseases, rise in obesity, and environmental factors involved in urbanization and urban lifestyle that are affecting fertility and have led to rise in male and female subfertility. Then it gets to the socioeconomic factors, lack of affordable housing, flexible and part-time career posts for women, and affordable and publicly funded free childcare have contributed to the current low fertility birth rates. Couples, women are delaying starting a family, which has led to a true decline in their fertility rates levels due to ovarian aging and related reasons, leading to reduced change of conception. Now, why am I saying all of that? If you do not deal with the economic realities of life, you're not going to be able to change this. And so, listen, I don't have any birth children, but when my wife and I raised my nieces, twin nieces, daycare was as high as $2,000 per month. We're talking about a mortgage when it comes to childcare. And so now you're dealing with that. And so this is one of the issues. I remember when Bill Clinton, when they were changing the welfare work requirements, oh, you got to go out and work. And people were like, yo, I want to work. Who's going to care for my child? I got to make a decision. Do I care for my child and go to work, or do I work and I got to stick my child with a friend or a family member? That's real. And so American policymakers can't, on one hand, talk about, oh, we got to get rid of immigration, we got to deport all of these people, if you still don't address the underlying reasons why folks who are American don't want to have kids. It's an economic issue.
Yeah, Roland, I think you're absolutely right. And I'm so happy that you show that article and you share what you share, because I am pushing upwards 40. And I think as a civil rights attorney, I make a pretty good income. However, that is one of the main reasons that I am not prepared to have a child, is because I don't know. I cannot pay for childcare in the DMV area or Los Angeles. I'm bi-coastal. It's at least $2,500 to $3,000 a month. I have non-traditional work hours, so I can't do that. I am so scared the way this economy is going, to the point where I froze my eggs last year because I said, I am not sure when I'm going to be able to have a mini person. So it's that bad that we have that fear. So you're absolutely correct.
Congo, again, same story here, says there has to be a policy, a state and federal policy to address the realities of fertility. One of the things in this article, I'm going to go up a little bit earlier, they said that, hey, government should be looking at how do you fund fertility treatment? How do you fund IVF? When you got Republicans who are frankly having a war against IVF, now you're like, hold up. Y'all are having a war against IVF, but then y'all complained about low fertility rates. Which is it? This is an issue that, again, and for all these people, and I remember I had some people over Congo who like, oh yeah, Roland Martin, he's sitting here, trying to explain to us, what immigration is good. I'm just telling you right now, facts are facts. If one of the reasons, and this is what economists say, one of the reasons the United States was able to weather the storm of COVID, and one of the reasons why the U.S. economy rebounded at a faster rate than any other nation was because of immigration. Numbers don't lie. The amount of money the work they were doing, they're putting money into the system. Now, you can have these loud mouths in Chicago, some fool who was complaining, I won't have her on the show. And I'm like, because y'all are idiots. You can sit here and complain all you want to, but I'm laying out, and this story, what I'm showing you is a document from 2009, okay? 15 years ago. We're now in 2024, and we're seeing in the United States the exact same problem that the UK, Japan, and so many other European countries are now dealing with. And so you can just sit here and go, well, hey, I don't care. It's not going to impact me. But trust me, it's going to impact your children. It's going to impact the next generation. And it's going to take several generations of intense focus on fertility in the country in order to reverse this trend. And there's nothing that tells me that is going to actually happen.
Yeah, I think another thing we need to add is that since that article came out in 2009, now in 2024, we're also dealing with these issues of these abortion laws that have been leading to men and women deciding to surgically put themselves in positions where they can't have kids. Right. And college students are doing it, and people are doing it at younger and younger ages because they don't know if they're going to have their, cycles tracked, if they're going to be prosecuted if they decided to have an abortion from an unexpected pregnancy. And young women are actually doing that as well. So that's another complication that has been added since this. As somebody who's on a college campus, I'm seeing this every single day. I'm also concerned. I'm raising, I have my two daughters are 18 and 16, and my son is 10. And one of the other things we need to add to it is we seeing all of these stories about loneliness, right? And women feeling like they're not finding compatible mates in terms of some of the men out there. So ever since that article, there have been more and more reasons why we should be nervous about these declining birth rates. And you also mentioned earlier the issue with China. India also had, a policy as well. And if you see what's happening with China right now and what they're doing, importing women from other countries in order to be able to produce babies and the like, and the preference for the male child, this is something that has been predicted. And if we don't get a hold on the economic factors that are contributing to us not being able to produce more children or feel like having more children can be a desire, then this country is going to go the way of other countries that you have so rightfully cited here. The problem is with this new administration coming in, we know a recession's coming down. We know that there's going to be terrible economic policies. We know this man does not have a plan for the working poor. And so we're going to be dealing with this for at least another 4 years. And another 4 years could set us another 100 years back as it relates to, like you said, getting back to a point where our levels are right. But these folks at the top, these so-called leaders and 11 plus billionaires in Trump's administration, they do not give a damn about any of us below them.
All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. We come back. I want to talk about this sort of change in tone we're hearing from the largest progressive media company, the Young Turks. And this weird dialogue about the far left battling the middle, and I don't know what the hell is going on, but I'm just sort of confused. Weren't the critics calling the Young Turks the far left? Okay, I got to deal with this when we come back. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
What's up, y'all? Look, Fanbase is more than a platform. It's a movement to empower creators, offering a unique opportunity for everyday people to invest in Black-owned tech, infrastructure, and help shape the future of social media. Investing in technology is essential for creating long-term wealth and influence in the digital age. The Black community must not only consume tech, we must own it.
Discover how equity crowdfunding can serve as a powerful tool for funding Black businesses, allowing entrepreneurs to raise capital directly through their community through the Jobs Act.
On a next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, we're talking about leveling up, or to put it another way, living your very best life. How to take a bold step forward that'll rock your world.
Leveling up is different for everybody. You know, I think we fall into this trap, which often gets us stuck because we're looking at someone else's level up journey, what leveling up means to them. For some, it might be a business venture. For some, it might be a relationship situation, but it's different for everybody.
It's all a part of A Balanced Life. That's next on Black Star Network.
Now streaming on the Black Star Network.
I had been trying to get a record deal for a long time. You know, when I finally got signed to the Motown record label in 2003, I was 34, 35 years old. And up until that time, I had been trying to get record deals the traditional way. You know, you record your demo, you record your music, and you send it, you know, to the record labels, or maybe a friend of a friend knows somebody that works for, you know, the record label. And really chemistry that was my last ditch effort at being in the music business.
How long have you been trying?
I've been trying since I was a teenager. Wow. And you know, and I'm grateful that it happened when it happened, because I wasn't prepared, you know, as a teenager to embrace all that comes with a career in the music industry.
I'm Russell L. Honoré, Lieutenant General, United States Army, retired, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
So I've been paying close attention to a lot of folks in the wake of Donald Trump beating Vice President Kamala Harris, who are critical of Democrats, turning on Democrats. And I'm going to deal with one a little bit later. But the Young Turks, a very progressive, large media company, it's been very interesting watching Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparin, who, and you know, them doing interviews with Glenn Beck and going on right-wing media and all kinds of stuff like that. So Cenk put out this tweet, which I'm confused. It says, the radical left has been primarily bullying the rest of the left for years. We're not changing any of our policies. We just don't agree that the most extreme policies are the most effective. The great majority of the left doesn't agree with them, and the elections in New York, California, and all the Democratic cities proved it. So I'm not going to let them speak for the rest of us. They can try their usual bullying tactics. The Young Turks have been fighting off bullies for over 20 years. Good luck. You're going to need it. Okay. Here's the first question. Who's the radical left? Seriously, I would like for somebody to give me an answer on who exactly is the radical left. Because when I listen to a lot of these folks, when I listen to critics, they've long described the Young Turks and their supporters as the radical left. Young Turks has often fought against corporatists in groups like that. So now I'm confused. I'm really confused. So if the Young Turks is against the radical left and they're against corporatists in the Democratic Party, well, who do y'all think is in the middle? I'm really and truly wondering about that. But there's something else. I saw a video where Cenk was talking about Donald Trump Jr. agreeing with a tweet of his. And Cenk said that he had been going on these right-wing radio shows. And the populists, they're agreeing with us, the populist. And he said that they want to cut defense spending. Y'all, do you actually think for a second that Donald Trump and the right wants to cut defense spending? No, not at all. And that ain't happening. I don't know what kind of delusions Cenk and Senator Bernie Sanders and Congressman Ro Khanna and others, I don't know what they're drinking or eating. But let me be real clear. The right ain't gonna cut defense spending. That is not going to happen. So this idea that, that the populists have aligned on this issue is insane. But again, what jumps out at me is I'm trying to understand who's the radical left and how is the radical left controlling the Democratic Party? I mean, truth be told, one of the problems with the Democratic Party is that, frankly, it has a bigger tent than the Republicans. Y'all heard me say this, that in the Democratic Party, you've got center right, center left, you've got progressive, you've got far left, all in there. In the Republican Party, what you got? Right, hard white. Hard right. That's all you got. You don't have center right in the Republican Party. You don't have moderates in the Republican Party at all. If a Republican today is called a moderate, they are an actual hard right-winger. So I don't understand what's going on with folks who are Democratic. In fact, if y'all have that bite from Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, get it ready. So Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, in his news conference last week, he was talking about the wins. He was talking about how Democrats actually fared well in the election despite losing the White House. Listen to this.
In terms of the battleground, what happened in the other 5? Well, in North Carolina, notwithstanding the fact that Donald Trump won at the presidential level, Democrats won the governor's race, the lieutenant governor's race, the attorney general race, the secretary of state race, and the state Supreme Court in North Carolina on that very same day that Donald Trump won the presidential election. Are we on the run in the state of North Carolina? What happened in Wisconsin? On the same day that Donald Trump won at the presidential level, Tammy Baldwin was reelected. Are we on the run in Wisconsin, in the heartland of the United States of America, when Tammy Baldwin won with a Republican president winning at the top of the ticket? What happened in Michigan? Another heartland state. Alyssa Slotkin won the Senate seat and is on her way to the United States Senate. Are we on the run in the heartland state of Michigan? What happened in Nevada? Donald Trump wins the presidential election, but on the same day, same set of voters, Jackie Rosen is reelected to the United States Senate. Are we on the run in Nevada? And in Arizona, and by the way, in Nevada, all 3 House Democratic incumbents reelected. And in Arizona, Donald Trump wins somewhat convincingly at the presidential level. But Ruben Gallego is on his way to the United States Senate. Same day, same set of voters, same election.
So I'm just trying to understand why Democrats are losing their mind. Yes, you lost. You came within 3 of winning the House. You would have won the House if Republicans had not gerrymandered, the political gerrymander, the seats in North Carolina. But I don't get playing footsie with the right. I don't understand Anna with the Young Turks sitting down with Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck? That racist? Glenn Beck, who can't be trusted? Glenn Beck, who said he would be embarrassed for his children if Donald Trump became president and became one of his biggest suck-ups? That same Glenn Beck. That same Glenn Beck who employs that idiot Jason Whitlock and the rest of those yahoos? Really? So I don't understand what these people are doing. Congo, it's hilarious to literally watch these so-called progressives lose their mind over this election and blow everything up. And oh yeah, we're going to be siding. These right-wing shows that Jank goes on, these people are not going to be supporting cutting the Pentagon's budget. That ain't happening.
Yeah. Man, you telling the truth for real, man. Like, I don't get it. You know, one thing you said last week was, or week before, you said, I'm just not going to sell out my ancestors, right, and just quit. You were talking about Harry Belafonte and all of our elders who went into their 90s, you know, just fighting, went down, you know, fighting. And you got these guys, these 20-somethings, these teenagers, some 30-somethings, quitting after like one election, right? Giving in, just like caving in. And then you couple that with organizations like ABC folding with Stephanopoulos and all this. And I don't get it. This obeying in advance, this idea of we got to play nice, this idea of that, you know, we got to talk with, and look, I'm all about finding common ground. I'm all about having, as Glenn Singleton talks about, courageous conversations, but with people who actually want to build, with people who actually recognize me and my issues as real. And these guys have no desire to do that. And so they're actually wasting time, valuable organizing time that they could be spending meeting with like-minded people, that they could be spending organizing protests and boycotts and other types of things. I'm not seeing the resistance that we need to be seeing right now. And this is how Trump's getting over before he even gets in. And we're like, what, 30-something days away from inauguration? That just means there's going to be more people trying to placate these guys. And Glenn Beck and these other guys, they're going to come on their platforms, they're going to smile in your face, and when they get into that power again, they're going to stab people, not even in the back, they're going to stab them in the front this time. Donald Trump and his ilk have told you everything they want to do and are going to do. So for people to start losing their minds over the fact that, you know, we lost an election, didn't get the results that we want, Trump did not get a mandate, the House shrunk, and there's crazy elections, a whole bunch of elections coming up in 2026. So you're right, man, we got to buckle down. This is not the time to abandon values. This is time to hunker down on the values. And I don't like watching media anymore, Roland, where I can't distinguish what side they're on anymore, because so many of them want access, and so the other side are afraid of lawsuits. So I'm just like, I got to find trusted networks like Black Star Network to keep the truth going, because so many of these other folks are losing their minds and selling their souls.
I'm just trying to understand, Candace, who's the radical left? How is the radical left completely controlling and dominating the Democratic Party? I'm confused.
You know, I'm just as confused as you are. I mean, I just jumped back in because there were technical issues. I'm assuming you're talking about the Young Turks here still.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense simply because the labeling just doesn't feel right. But, you know, with as many followers as they have, here's what we have to think about. This is a group of people who really are competing, just like you, with major media entities that are out there. They can actually kind of say and plant the seeds that they want to because of the power that they have in an effort to create confusion. And that's what we know a lot of the media does today. They do something in order to create confusion. And when you create confusion and people don't know which way to turn, left or right, no pun intended, then they're really kind of left and vulnerable to the person who's put that confusing thought in their head. So I think that they're really recognizing and understanding their power and trying to bring in more people. I'm not sure if it's a gimmick. I'm not sure if it's a marketing effort. But we know that when we look at these big media conglomerates like ABC, and who just caved in, as we just talked about with the defamation lawsuit. And $15 million, that's a big deal. And I think that there are media organizations like the Young Turks that are looking at that and saying, here's our opportunity. Here's where we slip in. Here's where we can change the narrative with redefining words that we're very familiar with, because that's what social media is all about, kind of redefining the narrative and redefining what people have thought and believed for years. So I think they know exactly what they're doing, and that is trying to confuse so they can insert themselves more effectively.
I'm just sitting here, Jay, just really confused at some of the nonsense stuff. I mean, Jank was just elated that Donald Trump Jr. agreed with him in a tweet about cutting defense spending. I'm gonna go on record right now. Donald Trump will do all he can to become the first individual to sign a law where the Pentagon hits $1 trillion in terms of their budget.
Yep.
The budget is up, it got up to $862 billion under President Biden. I'm telling you right now, do not be shocked if the Pentagon budget hits $1 trillion under Trump. Then I want to hear about the so-called radical far left, whoever that is. I just keep saying that I think some people are so far left they turn right.
I like that.
Yes, Roland, and this is just I keep saying this is going to be the presidency of the press, right? This is what that's going to be. And Candace, you made a good point. This is an opportunity for everyone. I think it's at a crossroad for them to craft their own narrative. This is a vulnerable time, within the news industry. This is a very vulnerable time. And since most people are getting their information and their source from so many different unreliable sources, or you can just change it until you want what you want it to be, depending on who the host is, I just think this is really going to be a presidency of the press, and that's going to be unfortunate. And these next 4 years are going to be really, really interesting to follow.
All right, y'all, we come back. I have got to talk about this former member of the DNC's Finance Committee, how she is all of a sudden just playing footsie with Fox News in the right. I think it's time for her to shut the hell up. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Fanbase is a free-to-download, free-to-use, next-generation social media platform that allows anyone to have followers and subscribers on the same page. Fanbase was built through investment dollars from equity crowdfunding from the Jobs Act. People just like you helped build Fanbase, and we're looking for more people to help build Fanbase. We are currently raising $17 million in a Regulation A crowdfund on Start Engine. We've already crossed $2.1 million, but we're looking to raise more capital from people just like you that deserve the opportunity to invest in early-stage startups without having to be accredited investors. So right now, I'd like you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase right now, today. And then use Fanbase to connect with friends, grow your audience, and be you without limits.
The next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach. Dexter Jenkins is a faith-based financial mentor with more than 20 years in the financial services industry. He's passionate about helping families build generational wealth.
Even though I'm talking about things like prayer, I'm talking about things about reading the word, I'm talking about things like fellowship, I'm talking to members who are dealing with losing their houses, or I'm talking to members who, because of a lack of the handling their finances, they're working 2 and 3 jobs. And so what I'm finding is that they're not coming to church because they don't have a handle on their finances.
We're talking how to get wealthy through faith and our finances on the next Get Wealthy, right here, only on Black Star Network.
Now streaming on the Black Star Network.
I had been trying to get a record deal for a long time. You know, when I finally got signed to the Motown record label in 2003, I was 34, 35 years old. And up until that time, I had been trying to get record deals the traditional way. You know, you record your demo, you record your music, and you send it, you know, to the record labels, or maybe somebody, a friend of a friend, knows somebody that works for, you know, the record label. And really, chemistry that was my last ditch effort at being in the music business.
How long have you been trying?
I've been trying since I was a teenager. Wow. And you know, and I'm grateful that it didn't. I'm grateful that it happened when it happened, because I wasn't prepared, you know, as a teenager to embrace all that comes with a career in the music industry.
Now that Roland Martin is willing to give me the blueprint, hey, Cyrus, I need to go to Tyler Perry and get another blueprint because I need some green money. The only way I can do what I'm doing, I need to make some money. So you'll see me working with Roland. Matter of fact, it's the Roland Martin and Cheryl Underwood show. Well, should it be the Cheryl Underwood show and the Roland Martin show? Well, whatever show it's going to be good.
All right, folks, welcome back. So there's a woman named Lindy Lee. She bills herself as this longtime member of the DNC Finance Committee. And during the election, oh my goodness, Lindy just had so much to say about Kamala Harris and about, you know, the Democrats. And, you know, she was, you know, posting photos and all those different things, and she was doing all that sort of stuff. But now all of a sudden, she's now singing a different tune. Now all of a sudden, she's complaining, and now she's saying that this is wrong, it is unfair, and what's going on, and that that Vice President Kamala Harris has left a stench, if you will, with the party, and she should not run again. She's critical of the money that they raised in the campaign, and on and on and on and on and on. And so she's got a whole lot to say about what went on. Now, what was interesting is poor little Lindy, y'all. Lindy got a little attitude because I ripped her, and Lindy decided that she could not take. Now, mind you, she got all the smoke for Vice President Kamala Harris, but poor little Lindy. If y'all go to my iPad, little Lindy has blocked me on Twitter because I was lighting her little simpleton ass up, you know. And so if you want to see a suck up, here it is here. Oh, today's my birthday. What an absolute joy and honor joining the incredible, the one and only Kevin Cork, who is truly a national treasure. Spending time with the Fox and Friends family, Will Kane, is the best way to spend my birthday. Sending love and warmth to you all. That's her just so happy, and she just cheesing being on the Fox News set. The same Fox News that paid $787.5 million in the defamation case because they were advancing election lies. The same Fox News that continue to lie and lie and lie and lie. And in fact, Lindy has so much to say that she went on Mark Halperin, you know, the dude who had issues, sexual harassment issues, you know, so he got canned from ABC and from MSNBC and lost all of his other stuff. And then, so she goes on his podcast talking with Meghan McCain, who is, I'm sorry, only has anything in life because of my father, General John McCain. And so here's little Lindy sharing her thoughts and perspective on why the Democrats didn't win.
Silence, because I held my tongue for years because I wanted democracy to prevail. Frankly, that was it. But now that she lost, I feel liberated to say things that I have felt for years, which is that the woke, progressive, I mean, it's just going to condemn us to the wilderness for the foreseeable future. And the fact that the DNC chair, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The DNC chair, Jamie Harrison, just last week doubled down on identity politics. This is a losing approach, and he's still going full steam ahead. There's no remorse, no introspection. Not to mention the fact, you had Kamala Harris campaign senior advisors on the Pod Save America show, not demonstrating any sort of circumspection or self-analysis, and not taking any responsibility for doing things like spending $2.5 million.
Okay, so she's, again, just running her mouth, and she's just complaining about everything. And the thing that I find to be real funny about poor little Lindy Lee is that she's got so much to say, but don't you notice how they, woke identity politics, but then they actually can't actually name it. Somebody put this clip together that I thought was real interesting. So check this out. This is Lindy Lee talking in August. And then you're going to hear a clip of her talking in November. Listen.
Is now able to galvanize young people in states that were formerly completely out of play. Michigan is back. Young people who are disenchanted or completely tuned out are back. The energy behind her has been absolutely phenomenal. I don't remember this level of excitement since I was a kid cheering for Senator Obama. It took me a year essentially to raise $1.1 million for President Biden. It took me a week to raise $2 million for Kamala Harris.
I want to point out that they waited 3 days. Michelle and Barack Obama waited 3 days to endorse Kamala Harris. It was a silence heard around the world. And prior to Biden's endorsement that no one really anticipated, they were vetting people like Mark Kelly. Kamala Harris wasn't at the top of the ticket. So Biden's endorsement of Harris caught a lot of people off guard, even the chieftains of the party. I really think it was a big F you to everyone. I'm so sorry.
Okay, so let's just be real clear. So when she's talking about, they were vetting Mark Kelly. Y'all heard me say on this show numerous times that there were people who did not want Vice President Kamala Harris on the ticket. Do you know who told them to go to hell? President Joe Biden. Yep. So for her saying, they were vetting Mark Kelly was never going to be the VP candidate. Ever. It wasn't going to happen. But here's a little bit more of Lindy Lee's audition on Fox News. Because, see, the real thing she's trying to do, she's trying to get a Fox News contributor job, y'all. I just want y'all to understand. So Lindy Lee is desperately trying to become Fox News' favorite Democrat to book. So the game is, let's book a former member of the DNC Finance Committee, because she's no longer on the Finance Committee. I did call and check. She got removed last week. So she's now desperate for relevancy, and so she's running around. Do y'all know how many members there are on the DNC Finance Committee? A lot. A lot. She said, it took me a year to raise $1.1 million. She's not even one of the top party fundraisers. But when you are quick to go on right-wing media and trash Democrats and trash Vice President Kamala Harris and her campaign, Fox News is going to book you all day and all night. It's a little bit more of Lindy.
Well, it's interesting that it sounds to me like there's this shift. We tend to think of big tech, especially in financial tech, as being sort of right, or make that left-leaning. Is there a shift to the right happening organically?
Kevin, that's such a great point. I don't think it's just the business world. I think it's across the country. People are fed up, and they realize that Biden and Harris, they lied to us for the past 4 years about the cognitive state of our president, and they failed on immigration. The expiration of Title 42 was the original sin. Millions of migrants poured into the country, and I am a naturalized immigrant myself. I'm speaking as an immigrant. My family and I came here with $200. We never took a handout. We waited in line. We followed all the rules. So for immigrants like me who became naturalized Americans, proud and grateful Americans, it's extremely upsetting that people are just flooding into the country willy-nilly.
So it's a rightward shift, both in tech and other areas, too. Lindy Lee, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, so Lindy Lee was talking about the rightward trend in tech. Can we cut the bullshit? Do y'all know why there's a rightward trend in tech? Because the Trump tax cuts expire in January 2025. The billionaires want to make the Trump tax cuts permanent. Second of all, everybody knows if you kiss Donald Trump's ass and hand him big bucks, he'll do whatever you want. There are reports circulating right now that Donald Trump, they're going to approve no longer having Tesla have to report accidents in autonomous vehicles. Why? Because he spent $300 million helping Trump win. The rest of these guys, they don't want the government cracking down on big tech. Who's now their big friend? Trump. Who was yelling and screaming, get rid of TikTok? Now, I kind of like TikTok. That's what's going on here. And so, Lindy Lee is a joke. She's a joke. This was an unprecedented campaign. The reality is this here. If you really want to study the campaign, there were a lot of mistakes made by Vice President Kamala Harris's team. And I'm talking about Jen O'Malley Dillon, Stephanie Cutter, David Plouffe, as well as Quentin Folks. Lots of screw-ups. But can y'all explain to me, with all of the drama, with Biden dropping out July 21st, Harris having 107 days. By the way, the Biden campaign was broke as hell. The money she raised saved their asses. They got within 1.6% of winning. One of the closest margins in 2 decades. And these people are acting like, oh my God, the world just came crashing down. Oh my God, what do we do? Could anybody have predicted the impact of October 7th in Israel, in Gaza, and Hamas on the election? Nope. The reality is Joe Biden was not popular among young people. He wasn't popular among black people. The fact of the matter is he was old, and he showed it, and he looked feeble. And America likes to project strength. But you know what is the worst thing that happened right now? When you have weak, sorry, pathetic, feckless, and impotent Democrats, including individuals who were members of the DNC's Finance Committee, who have nothing of value to add. They're not crafty. Lindy Lee isn't trying to say, hey, how do we craft a game plan to win governor's mansions in 2025? How do we craft a game plan to win the Wisconsin Supreme Court race in 2025? How do we make sure the Democrats keep control of the House in Virginia in 2025? How do we craft a plan to win the seats needed in 2026 in the midterms? No, all she's doing is taking her bony ass on Fox News, bitching and moaning about, oh my God, how this was so awful, how things were ran. She has nothing of value to add. Nothing. And then she wants to sit here and talk about, oh, Jamie Harrison, he's continuing the woke identity. Really? Well, Lindy, name it. Please tell me, what is this woke identity politics? Could you please tell? Because I love it how they throw stuff out. They can't name it. I love it how they say, oh, Democrats, they fail the working class. I'm sorry, can you please show me the policies the Republicans have actually passed to benefit the working class? I'll wait. What you see happening right now is what happens when you have weak people who are so desperate for attention that they'll say anything to get it. Because see, if you actually care about winning, you would then be trying to devise plans and strategies to actually win. Instead, little Lindy Lee is desperate trying to get her a Fox News contributor job. Because the truth is, she has nothing of value to add. And then she says, oh yes, I'm excited about this. All these things that are happening with the economy. Lindy, do you mean the economy that Biden and Harris fixed? You mean the economy that is on the upswing? Do you mean the first president, the first administration, never to have a negative jobs report in 4 years? So isn't it amazing that Lindy Lee will talk about how, oh, I can feel it. This is going to be great, how the economy is turning around. Yeah, Lindy, of course it's great. When the people who put in all the damn work for 4 years rebuilt it, and then you have the idiot who tanked it to come back and then take credit for their work. But then again, it's Donald Trump. He's cheated through life, and he's always taking credit for somebody else's work. So, Lindy, if you never come back, fine. Because you know what? You serve no purpose right now. Real quick with my panel, Jade, I'll start with you.
Well, I'm trying not to laugh at Miss Lindy, Miss Little Petite Lindy, but this is the quickest switch up I've seen, like in history, like in political history, because just a few months ago, Miss Lindy was shouting to the rooftop how not only did she is she some random donor, she's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, Asian American fundraisers in the history of the Democrats on their side. So I quote that. That is what she said a few months ago. So I am so confused and perplexed as to how now she's stating a few months later that Trump actually called his committee actually called her and asked her, would she be willing to switch? Which we know her answer is going to be yes, right? So you actually put your money where your mouth is at when it came to the Harris-Biden campaign. In fact, your family donated buildings to that campaign. So I am so confused as to how you have the switch up. And let me tell you, Roland, Miss Lee is not going to make it. She does not have the skin for politics. She does not have what it takes to be under this administration. If she is blocking you already with her Twitter fingers, she has seen nothing yet. She does not have the heart for this if she's pushing block already.
Makongo.
Ready.
Look, the fact of the matter is that somebody in the chat, video chat, called her, she wants to be an Asian Candace Owens. And people talk about all the reasons why Harris lost, and of course those are reasons people can look at. But one of the things people also have to be mindful of is that their at least 2 to 3 entire networks have voted to lies and misinformation and disinformation. And Lee is looking to be part of that network. Somebody said Nixon could have survived if he had a Fox News. So this is a profitable industry for people. And the fact that she could switch up like that, with Democratic allies like that, who needs enemies, right? Was she a plant the entire time? And so this is why Black Star Network is important, because who else is talking about this? Right? There's a whole infrastructure waiting for people to come on with no integrity to these networks and absolutely lie in order to get a comfortable network position as a contributor and a commentator. And if this is the type of stuff that people who are on the extreme left over the Democratic Party need to be calling out. And I haven't seen anything. Where's the resistance? Who got the receipts? To really challenge what she's saying. We're going to see more people like this because that incentive structure is way too strong, and people want to stay on Trump's good side no matter what. I expect to see more, but like someone said, this is an Asian version of Candace Owens.
So here she goes, Candace. She says that Democrats carry the stench of loser after a landslide. I guess this photo is right here, is the stench of a loser. Oh, that's Lindy Lee in front of a Harris wall sign. Candace, go ahead.
It's all about the numbers, and let's take a look at a couple of them. One, we've got Elon Musk donated what, 250 million, made 200 billion. Okay, stocks went up by 70%. You've got the Sean Hannity. He makes 45 million over at Fox. That's very attractive to her. You got people like Tim Cook and Mark Zuckerberg. He actually made $1 million donation, right, with Trump. You've got other people, Jeff Bezos. People are lining up to get in bed with what's going to happen on January 20th. And when you think about someone who wants to be a contributor and is trying to reimagine what her life will be at her age, I am not surprised. She reminds me a lot of people who might be contributors, may not even half believe what they say, but they do see that dollar sign. They do see a career move, and they do see an opening, even if for the next 4 years. They must be courting her very hard for her to actually switch that quickly. And for her, it must make sense. And I mean the sense with the S ends in C-E-N-T-S. That's what I think that we're seeing here.
Well, and talk about follow the money. This is Lil Lindy speaking on October 30th, 6 days before the election. Since we're talking about money, listen.
Of extremely wealthy business tycoons who understand they have business contracts. In fact, Jeff Bezos, Blue Origin, has a $3.4 billion contract with NASA that he doesn't want to jeopardize. And the LA Times owner has had a long-standing relationship with Trump that he doesn't want to undermine as well. So these people are looking at the polls and they're understandably nervous that Trump will return to power, and they're going to find themselves on the wrong side of the aisle. So what they did was cowardly, absolutely cowardly and reprehensible. But they're doing it to protect their business interests at the expense.
Sounds to me like you are protecting your bottom line as well. Lindy Lee, we're done with you. Dismissed. When we come back, OZ founder Carlos Watson is headed to federal prison. We'll tell you exactly what happened today in a courtroom in New York and talk to a former staffer at OZ. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Fanbase is a free-to-download, free-to-use, next-generation social media platform that allows anyone to have followers and subscribers on the same page. Fanbase was built through investment dollars from equity crowdfunding from the Jobs Act. People just like you helped build Fanbase, and we're looking for more people to help build Fanbase. We are currently raising $17 million in a Regulation A crowdfund on Start Engine. We've already crossed $2.1 million, but we're looking to raise more capital from people just like you that deserve the opportunity to invest in early-stage startups without having to be accredited investors. So right now, I'd like you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase right now, today. And then use Fanbase to connect with friends, grow your audience, and be you without limits.
This is Motown recording artist Kim. You are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. That boy, he always unfiltered though. I ain't never known him to be filtered. Is there another way to experience Roland Martin than to be unfiltered? Of course he's unfiltered. Would you expect anything less? Watch what happens next.
Oh, rough day in court for OZ founder Carlos Watson. The judge slapped him with nearly 10 years in federal prison after he was convicted of lying as well as fraud. This is the Associated Press headline. Former TV host Carlos Watson gets nearly 10 years in prison in a case about failed startup OZ Media. When you look at this story here, man, it's crazy. They say in one example, another OZ executive impersonated a YouTube executive to hype OZ to investment bankers while Watson coached him. Watson and now the defunct company were found guilty last summer of charges including wire fraud conspiracy. He denied the allegations and plans to appeal. This would happen in court today. Quote, "I love what we built with OZ," he said in court Monday, initially addressing supporters in the audience before the judge suggested he turn around. Watson told the judge he was a target of selective prosecution as a black entrepreneur in Silicon Valley. And then, of course, he called this a modern lynching. "I made mistakes. I'm very, very sorry that people are hurt, myself included, but I don't think it's fair." Now, he could have got 37 years in prison. He's free on $3 million bond. He has to surrender to prison on March 28th. Now, check this out. The federal judge here said that the quantum of dishonesty in this case is exceptional. Your internal apparatus for separating truth from fiction became badly miscalibrated. Prosecutors said that he and others inflated numbers for Ozzy to defraud investors and lenders, touted deals that did not exist. They also falsified other different issues. Again, they would say, prosecutors, that Watson listened and text talking points while his co-founder impersonated a YouTube executive on a phone call. And so what's also interesting, now, first of all, 2 co-defendants pled guilty, testified against him as well. And even after the trial, he was still saying this is unfair and why do they come after me but not somebody in California? This is what he said, quote, "I do think this is an attack on black excellence," Watson said, after noting that his sentence wasn't far from the 11-year term meted out to Elizabeth Holmes, who the white former Silicon Valley CEO convicted of duping investors in the Theranos blood testing device hoax. Eugene Robinson worked with Carlos Watson at OZ. Eugene joins us right now. Eugene, what do you make of Carlos continuing to say this was an attack on black excellence? This is a modern lynching. They came after the black man, and they didn't go after white guys who did the exact same thing that he did.
I'm sorry, which black man exactly? Oh, I'm sorry. You mean Carlos, that black man, because suddenly he is that black man, right? I mean, it's gotten to, my producer was in court today, hours ago, and she said in an interesting way, it's gotten to the point where we're almost talking about mental health issues. The perjury has been weirdly continual. For example, saying that his father was dead when in actual fact his father was not dead. Saying today in court that he hired over 1,000 people at Ozzy, and the prosecutors at some point say, well, here you've attested that there were only 300 people at Ozzy. How did you come to that? No, you know what? Forget it. We're not going to ask. So, the serial misrepresentation, you wonder how it makes sense in the arena of possibilities. So yeah, it seems to me very strange now that he is now he was on Charlemagne the God show, and his black bona fides are out there when this was never an interest of his. And in fact, like I said in some of the pieces I've written for the New York Times, he was much worse on the black employees, up to and including today in court. His 2 African-American attorneys were sidelined in favor of 2 white attorneys that it's clear that he has greater confidence in. So it's like a Charlie Brown Lucy thing where you put the football down, you kick it, and it just seems like that despite himself, he's always going to be yanking that ball away. And the rest of us, woe betide to the rest of us who try to kick it, He
testified that the company, the cash issues, that's a norm for startup companies. Investors knew they were getting unaudited numbers. The AP story says only one of those investors spoke at the sentencing, Beverly Watson, who stands by her brother. She told the court Monday that her biggest loss was, quote, this important platform that elevated people and ideas that weren't being heard before, unquote. Okay, but here's the deal, Eugene. The reality is, dude, they got you. You and your COO were faking as if a YouTube executive was on the phone to get money from Goldman Sachs. They got your text messages telling him what to say. Like, you can't, listen, I have a media startup company. I get it. I get it. You're trying to keep it afloat. Nah, bruh. Frankly, you were spending way more money than you should have. And that is, you were desperate to try to build this mega company. And then there was a brother, on Twitter who was saying, they were keeping Carlos from, he was going to become the first black, publicly traded company in Silicon Valley, and this would stopped it. Dude, if they had gone to market with an IPO, the numbers would have got blown out of the water and the fraud would have been discovered.
Well, you see, and the thing that's amazing is the numbers were actually on a certain level, okay, modest.
Right.
But it was modest wasn't enough. He wanted, and the weird, yeah, it's a really weird case, because what he says is, it's like getting into a car. He says the fake voice changing thing with Samir. He says it was like getting into a car with somebody who's a drunk driver. At that point, you're just trying to mitigate damage, which is, he's forgetting that we can read the text. So his explanation of that was that he was trying to mitigate damage that Samir was clearly causing in a mental health issue that he was having, which was all smoke and mirrors. It's not happened. It happened. So it's a strange case. It's a strange case. And I don't exult in any person of color going to prison unless they are out there murdering people. But this is a case in which I think if you want to play that Valley game, you got to play the Valley game. Elizabeth Holmes is in for 10, 11 years. Sonny Balwani in for 10, 11 years. And it wasn't 37 years. They added on 2 more years for perjury. So he could have done 39 years, which is 4 decades. I think he should consider himself very fortunate today.
And the thing that jumped out, and look, hey, the advertising industry loved him. I mean, General Motors was throwing money at him. Kirk McDonald at Group M, they announced a big deal, all this sort of stuff like that. There's a way you build a business. There's a way. And the bottom line is, you don't lie. And what was weird to me was like, well, these other companies lied. But again, that was this one tweet. This guy was like, oh, yeah, BuzzFeed was continuously, and other companies were trying to buy them. They showed in court that was a lie. And I'm like, y'all was still lying in court. And I made this comment, it's like, dog, you try to act like you were the John Shaft of black media, like, oh, you were coming to save everybody. No, you were lying. You were just making shit up. And I'm sorry, you can't go out there around the world talking to people and you lie about your numbers. You're lying about your readership numbers. You're lying about how many tickets you sold at Ozzy Fest, all sorts of stuff. You were just lying. And I'm like, bruh, it's fraud. When you start misrepresenting your financial numbers, Donald Trump got convicted of of what? Same thing in a New York civil case.
Yep. And listen, Shane Smith from Vice owes me money that he hasn't paid, has no intention of paying. Carlos Watson owes me money, but the difference is that Carlos Watson lied to my face repeatedly, as he did to many other, very earnest, serious journalists that were working for, not very much money at all for over a decade. So yeah, it's a heartbreaking tragedy, like Sean Merchant just said in Inc., a friend of mine who wrote a piece for Inc. It's a tragedy all around. Of course, in his description of it, Watson himself believes it's a tragedy for everybody, including him, which, I'm sure lots of people in prison say that, but my heart doesn't bleed for him.
I'm just going to say this right here. As a black man who owns a media company, I'm like you. I don't want to see anybody go to prison. But if your ass did it, and you kept lying about it, and they got your text messages, see, bro, that's on you. And then this whole grandstanding, and he's dropping videos like, he tried to come after me. It's like, oh, I wanted a job with him. No, I talked to Constance White. I reached out to you to get a sense of what you were doing. And here was the deal. After this whole thing, collapsed, after he called me out on the Breakfast Club, he calls me, and in the phone call, he just felt I was unfair. Then he gonna ask me, can we collaborate on advertising? I said, dude, you're toxic. I said, ain't no way in hell, no lie. I was like, ain't no way in hell we doing anything together. This is the lesson that people need to learn in this whole deal. If you're gonna build something, you can't short circuit. And you know what? Here's what you and I know. Being black, we know we gotta be twice as good. We know we gotta dot every I, cross every T. We gotta triple check everything because I'm gonna question everything. And so, hey, here's a lesson, Carlos. You're not one of the white guys. And you might say, well, it's unfair because the white guys get to play it. Well, guess what? You ain't one of them. And you got your Negro wake-up call. and now you're going to go to prison for almost 10 years.
Yeah. Yep. Which is about as long as it's going to take so he doesn't come out and reoffend. I, honest to God, believe that if it was less than that, then the possibility of reoffense would be extremely high. So,
all right. Eugene Robinson, certainly appreciate it. Thank you so lot.
Thanks for having me, sir.
Thank you. I'm going to go to my panel, Candace. I sat here, Candace, the story that Ben Smith did with the New York Times, and I'm following this, and it was just the brazen lies. And I'm sitting there like, dog, they got you. Anybody, listen, this is a standard thing we know when it comes to these courts. You're a lawyer, Jay's a lawyer. If they charge 3 of y'all, the first 2 in the door with a plea deal gonna get hooked up. The last one, you're screwed. Guess what? The first 2, they cut deals and testified against him. They waiting to get sentenced. It's a good bet they're not gonna get almost 10 years in federal prison. And then, Candace, what was crazy, he was attacking the judge. He was saying the judge had financial interest. He kept attacking the prosecutors. I'm sorry, if your ass has been convicted and it's up to the judge to sentence you, it ain't a good idea to attack the judge, Candace.
No, not a good idea. But I love the way the judge put it. The quantum of dishonesty in this case was exceptional. Translation, he's a liar. He's been lying for years. I mean, it's one thing and there's this debate. Do you share with someone that your company is kind of doing really well and on the precipice of something great in order to get them interested to invest? I mean, that kind of is what people will often do. But that's not what he did. He took this 10 steps further, lying to impersonate somebody, the identity theft that was involved in here. Every single count he was convicted on. And this is a man who, when he was able to talk to the court, what did he do? Turned his back to the judge. As you said, when you are in front of a judge, you have to show the judge the utmost respect. How are you turning your back to the judge in order to address the court that you think are still your people? This is a man who really liked power. I would have really been interested in finding out, because the guest was saying that he treated Black people a lot lesser than. I'm wondering what those examples were inside of the context of his company. But now he's talking about Black excellence. Now he's talking about Black lynching. And I just think that that's an interesting way, in a very expected way, that he would deal with this, because he's going to be out of mainstream for 9-10 years. I mean, some of that time is going to be cut off. That's how they do it in terms of federal sentencing and guidelines. But he knew what he was doing with such intention, and representing himself as a journalist who's supposed to be out there and telling the truth. And this is what he did. That is what makes it especially egregious. But it does give you an idea about the way that these media organizations function when you are not looking, or when you are being sold something and you don't understand what you are being sold. To have someone say that, follow these notes because you can pretend that you're a YouTube investor, he had to have known he was getting caught. The problem was he had so many people involved. As you said, somebody else who goes to that door first or is spoken to first, they're the ones who are going to get the deal. Unfortunately for him, he was the third person to go through. And that's why he is where he is.
Jay, when he got convicted 5 months ago, this is what the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District had to say in New York.
A federal jury in Brooklyn, New York, convicted Carlos Watson of all 3 counts in the indictment, which charged him with conspiracy to commit securities fraud, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, and aggravated identity theft. The jury also convicted Ozy Media, Watson's company, of conspiracy to commit securities fraud and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. The jury found that Watson was a con man who lied to investors to get them to buy stock in Ozy Media and to shower him with money to grow the company. Watson acted as a wizard of Ozy. He was the public face of Ozy Media, with control over every aspect of the company as it grew from an internet website to an entertainment platform with grand ambitions. And while pulling the levers behind the scenes, Watson also had a direct hand in every crime committed by Ozy Media and its executives, as it morphed into a criminal enterprise as they became desperate for cash infusions to fuel Ozy's growth.
Now, here's one of the things, Jay, that was interesting. So he was attacking the prosecutors. He was attacking them, saying, y'all didn't go after the white boys. Look at the people who y'all have indicted. There are more black people than white people. It was all this sort of stuff like that. And I'm like, okay. And listen, we've seen these things. We've seen these things in courts all the time. But dog, they had you. I mean, his defense literally was, hey, y'all shouldn't come after me because all I did was the same thing the white boys did. I'm just saying, that ain't, you tell me, that ain't the smartest legal defense. Hey, the white boys got away with it. Y'all should have let me get away with it.
You know, Roland, I'm going to assume, I don't know who his attorney was, if he had one. I'm going to assume that he was his own pseudo-attorney.
No, he had an attorney. He had one of the guys from Harvard was on his legal team, and then he had a former sister who was a former judge out of Boston on the legal team. It was all, but I was sitting here like, say, bro. And he was dropping all these videos, slamming the legal system, and I'm standing up for righteousness and what's fair and right and all this sort of stuff. It was like, oh, okay, all right.
Competent legal team. But one of the things I used to despise when I was a prosecutor is people playing in my face in court. And listen, by the way, what he's saying publicly, number one, and how he acted up and showed his narrow behind in court by the judge's wording, exactly what Candace said. I know he acted a fool up in that courtroom. I know he did. But it's so crazy because, sir, we have the evidence. The jury has seen the evidence. The judge has seen it. It's been produced. There's the evidence there. So what that would make me believe as the judge at that moment, and maybe even his defense attorney, is that maybe a mental health evaluation may need to be ordered in this case because there's something that's not connecting at the top mentally. Right? That's what I would have probably thought about to order that as part of his punishment. Secondly, he needs to be happy that his butt is going to be out on that $3 million bond for the holidays and that they were generous enough to let him out for the holidays.
Hey, Omakongo, my man put together a 2-hour documentary called The Troubling Case of Carlos Watson, When They Come For You. Y'all think I'm lying. Go to my iPad, y'all. I'm not lying, y'all. I ain't making this up. Go.
In New York have arrested Ozy Media CEO Carlos Watson on fraud charges.
Watson facing now charges of conspiracy to commit securities fraud, wire fraud, and aggravated identity theft for his role in the impersonation of multiple media executives while in talks with investors. Soon after the arrest, the SEC charged Watson as well with defrauding investors of approximately $50 million.
Watson was arrested Thursday morning in a Manhattan hotel and accused of falsifying information about Ozy's performance and inflating its projected earnings in an effort to secure tens of millions of dollars in investments to offset the fledgling company's mounting debt.
Semaphor's co-founder and editor-in-chief Ben Smith, who broke that story about Carlos Watson back in the fall of 2021 as a media columnist for the New York Times. It rocked the media universe at the time. And Ben, I'm curious if in the moment that you were reporting that then, you thought that today or yesterday would happen.
You know, honestly, I did. I mean, I think, that great interview, Carlos says that he thought it was just sloppy and stupid. And it is very hard to convict people, notoriously hard, of securities fraud. But this was so obviously illegal.
They named 3 individuals as being involved in this conspiracy. 2 of them have already pled guilty.
And it was a bit of a surprise for everyone, but especially for Watson.
So yeah, man, they were sitting here. They had my stuff in here, and they put this whole. First, Jade, I saw you cracking up laughing when it dropped. They had this. I mean, this whole documentary right here. This is an investigator. They had. I mean, just go ahead and show it, y'all. I mean, they were just, and so he was doing all these videos and had folk post on social media. And I just sat there and I was kind of like, bruh, Listen, they got you. When they got you, they got you. You were trying to be the man. You were sitting here, you were lying about your numbers. You cannot lie about your numbers when you trying to raise money from folk. You can't do that. I'm a Congo.
Yo, I mean, when you said the whole thing about him lying about his father being alive, that was
no, that was Eugene Robinson who said that.
Right, well, right in your segment, right? I'm like, wow. I mean, what levels will this guy not stoop to? I mean, as an outsider, you know, watching his rise, I was like, wow, this is the guy. He's all over the place and everything, and just straight up lying, like you kept saying. It's like they got you. Like, what are you doing? So there is a certain level of delusion that is within this man that's really quite scary. I mean, this is like sociopathic type stuff, and I mean, all of those people who got cheated. I am finding it so hard to believe that a man could think that. And you know what also bothers me though, is when people do get caught, to go Clarence Thomas on people, to start throwing out terms like high-tech lynching, and then start throwing out other language that we use to pride ourselves on, like black excellence and the like, and talk about people that are coming at you. That's why you're not getting any sympathy from the black community, except for a couple of your lawyers, it seems, because we work hard, we're honest people, and we do our best. And for you to come out there and just disrespect our legacy by saying that these people are trying to come at you when you're just a liar, like that's completely ridiculous. And the way that he treated people in the courtroom, I mean, turning your back to the judge, like you said, who does that when they already got you? So there should have been some type of psyche valve. If they're not going to do that, though, 9 to 10 years may not even be enough, man. But I guess maybe people weren't doing their job from the outset. But I'm glad they finally caught up with him before a lot of other people lost their jobs and their reputations along with him.
And the thing is, man, he had raised a lot of money for some big name people. And again, y'all, he mentioned me 3 or 4 times in that documentary, and I'm sitting here like, dude, I don't really care. I'm like, you can sit here, you can sit here and be mad all you want to, but I'm like, I don't really care. And it's just, I just listen. The lesson here, and I'm gonna say this to anybody out here, and you're trying to sit here and build a media company, you're trying to build whatever, and I get it. This is real basic. Slow and steady. Slow and steady. Okay? You trying to sit here and do this and do that and do this and do that. Slow and steady. Methodically build. Y'all understand he raised $75 million? He almost raised $100 million. That means that if you raise $75 million, that you are a caretaker of investor funds. But see, what happens is, it's that churn. It's that churn. See, you're trying to do all this sort of stuff, and your expenses are outperforming, and you're sitting there fudging numbers, and so now you got to go out and raise money. It's dinner like a Ponzi scheme.
That's right.
You got to go raise more money to pay the previous investors back because you need more money to operate. And that's when, as a business person, you step back. And that's when you say, you know what? We can't afford to have Ozzy Fest. Kill that. See, here's what folk don't understand. There is no, I had an advertising agency, because they're real good at this. The ad agencies, they really love to have black-owned media throw awards programs, galas. I told them, I'm not in the event business. I'm not. I catered for 23 years with my grandmother. And then me and my brother and my family took over the business. I know about events. I said, I'm not creating an event company. I'm not going to expend a ton of energy doing some event where my profit margin is going to be incredibly small just to be able to say, oh, we had the Black Star Network honors, or we had this gala. You know what? That's fine. Everybody can do the Power 100. The Root can do their dinner. I'm not doing that crap. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be like the white media companies. Press the button, run ads. That's what we do. So when I'm making decisions on what we're spending, I'm looking at the money that I have. And I'm like, no, we can't do that. That's too expensive. Nope, we're not doing that. That's just not making us any money. No, because we're going to run a profitable business. That's what you have to do. But what I'm not going to do is go out here and go, oh, yeah, we're going to do $18 million in revenue in 2025. And then it's like, well, we did $4 million in 2024, but what the hell? Ain't no big deal. We could just make this stuff up. No. That's what we're seeing here, Candace. And people need to understand that you can sit here and yell, holler, and scream, well, you know what? I'm black. Say, dog, we all know we ain't them. We ain't them. You ain't, Carlos, you ain't Donald Trump. Okay? You ain't gonna sit here and finagle your way out of it. Yo, we ain't them. And if you know that up front, if you know the system is gonna treat black folks differently, ain't no way in hell I'm screwing up. I like freedom way too damn much. And you know what? I would rather run a $25 million a year company than lie and suggest I'm at 75 or $100 million. Because my ego is just fine at running a $25 million company. But what I'm not going to do is risk going to federal prison. Oh, ain't no way in hell I'm going to do that, Candace.
Well, you said three letters that I was going to say. Ego. That's what all of this was about. This man wasn't a dumb man. He knows the consequences of somebody who does something bad if you're black and if you're white. It's inevitable. There's no way around that. So he thought because of his ego that he was going to be able to get away with it. Here's what's unfortunate, though. As you said, this was a man that did have some skills. He just wanted more. He just wanted more. He knew how to court people and raise tens of millions of dollars. But what he decided to do was throw that all away because he wanted more. He wanted more money. He wanted more power. He wanted more say, thinking that he was going to get away with it. I think that's something bigger than what we're even thinking about. And just like Eugene said, this is someone that has problems that are more upstairs than we could ever think. Someone who lies about their father dying, or someone who sets up a whole scheme to pass a script on to a fake YouTube representatives. That's someone who has a lot more going than just, a risky business taker. That's someone who's a liar. You know, scratch a liar, find a thief. He's making it true. He is making that saying true. And, we follow the evidence. Follow the evidence. That's another thing. Why would he think in this world of technology, in this digital age, that his digital footprint would not follow behind him? Doesn't matter what you erase, doesn't matter what you throw away. That evidence is going to find its way in court. They're going to talk to Comcast or Time Warner. They're going to talk to Sprint, Verizon to get all of your information. Why did he think otherwise? Ego. And that's something for him to think about when he's behind bars.
Man, I'm sorry. Freedom is just too damn good. All right, y'all, we're going to go to a quick break. We come back. Stephen A. Smith had a rant. And MAGA, Clay Travis and Sage Steele and MAGA, they just so excited because he's agreeing with them about January 6th and the role the FBI played. It's bullshit. And I'm explaining to you when we come back on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
What's up, y'all? Look, Fanbase is more than a platform. It's a movement to empower creators, offering a unique opportunity for everyday people to invest in Black-owned tech, infrastructure, and help shape the future of social media. Investing in technology is essential for creating long-term wealth and influence in the digital age. The Black community must not only consume tech, we must own it.
Discover how equity crowdfunding can serve as a powerful tool for funding Black businesses, allowing entrepreneurs to raise capital directly through their community through the Jobs Act.
On a next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, we're talking about leveling up, or to put it another way, living your very best life. How to take a bold step forward that'll rock your world.
Leveling up is different for everybody. You know, I think we fall into this trap, which often gets us stuck because we're looking at someone else's level up journey, what leveling up means to them. For some, it might be a business venture. For some, it might be a relationship situation, but it's different for everybody.
It's all a part of A Balanced Life. That's next on Black Star Network.
Now streaming on the Black Star Network.
I had been trying to get a record deal for a long time. You know, when I finally got signed to the Motown record label in 2003, I was 34, 35 years old. And up until that time, I had been trying to get record deals the traditional way. You know, you record your demo, you record your music, and you send it, you know, to the record labels, or maybe somebody, a friend of a friend, knows somebody that works for, you know, the record label. And really, chemistry that was my last ditch effort at being in the music business.
How long have you been trying?
I've been trying since I was a teenager. Wow. You know? And you know, and I'm grateful that it didn't. I'm grateful that it happened when it happened, because I wasn't prepared, you know, as a teenager to embrace all that comes with a career in the music industry.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Devon Frank.
I'm Dr. Robin B., pharmacist and fitness coach, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Okay, y'all, so right-wingers are just beside themselves because the Department of Justice released a report detailing failings of the FBI when it came to January 6th. This is the report right here from the Office of the Inspector General. A review of the Federal Bureau of Investigation's handling of its confidential human sources and intelligence collection efforts in the lead up to the January 6, 2021 electoral certification. Okay, so this is the actual report that was released. Well, they saw this report and it was like, see, the FBI, they were involved in January 6th. They allowed it to happen. And so, they have been going crazy in social media. Well, then they took it to a whole new level when Stephen A. Smith on his podcast dropped this rant.
The news comes amidst a bombshell report from the Justice Department that revealed the FBI had at least 26 confidential informants on the ground when the Capitol was stormed on January 6, 2021. The report says most of the informants engaged in illegal activity during the chaos. The Justice Department says only 3 of its 26 informants present had been instructed to observe potential domestic terrorist suspects on the day of the riot. The rest of the 23 appeared to have gone to the Capitol on their own accord. Upon hearing news of the report, Vice President-elect J.D. Vance posted the following on X, quote, "For those keeping score at home, this was labeled a dangerous conspiracy theory months ago," end quote. Didn't hear anything about that for the election. Didn't hear anything about that when the quote-unquote insurrection was broached by Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee. The belief that Donald Trump was a danger to democracy and using this as a profound, illuminating bullet point to make that case. And now here we are yet again finding even more evidence to Donald Trump's claims when he articulated that the process is rigged. My big issue is that I'm really, really sick and tired of every time I turn around finding something else that the Democrats have lied about or downplayed or misrepresented along the way. I mean, I see Republicans like Megyn Kelly or Officer Tatum or Candace Owens or, you know, the Sean Hannitys of the world. You know what I'm getting tired of? You know what I'm getting to the Democratic Party? You know what I'm getting really pissed off about? I'm getting really ticked off at every time they open their mouth about something pertaining to y'all, they seem right to make the case that the right had a monopoly on insidious, evil tendencies, corrupt tendencies, duplicitous, hypocritical, untruthful tendencies. And every time they made those accusations, we turn around and find out that at least some of them are guilty of the same shit. I don't know about y'all, but I'm sick of all of it. I'm sick of all of it. They've actually made Donald Trump look like he was right instead of them.
You know, Stephen A. normally dons a cowboy hat when he's talking about the Dallas Cowboys. I have no idea what the hell Stephen A. was just talking about. I know Stephen A. I respect Stephen A. Stephen A., you know sports. On this, you know what the hell you talking about. Like, I literally have no idea what the hell he was talking about there. How he's pissed off, and the Democrats, and Trump said stuff was rigged. And y'all, MAGA is running that clip everywhere. Oh, they are saying, oh, see, even Stephen, the truth, they always know the truth. Go to my iPad. Associated Press, Fact Focus, Inspector General's January 6th report misrepresented as proof of FBI setup. The basis of what the right has been saying is that January 6th was fine, it was great, it was wonderful, but the FBI, it was a setup. The FBI, they were behind the whole deal. They were agents. They were the ones who were starting stuff. The report, this is the AP, the Watchdog report, examined a number of areas. Go back, including whether major intelligence failures preceded the riot and whether the FBI in some way provoked the violence. Claims spreading online focus on the report's finding that 26 FBI informants were in Washington for election-related protests on January 6, including 3 who had been tasked with traveling to the city to report on others who were potentially planning to attend the events. Although 17 of those informants either entered the Capitol or a restricted area around the building during the riot, none of the 26 total informants were authorized to do so by the Bureau, according to the report, nor were they authorized to otherwise break the law or encourage others to do so. That's the report. And so when Stephen A. is going on and they sat here making Trump out to be true. No, he lied. He lied. Claim. A December 2024 report released by the DOJ's Office of the Inspector General is proof that the January 6th Capitol riot was a setup by the FBI. The facts, that's false. The report found that report found that no undercover FBI employees were at the riot on January 6th and that none of the Bureau's informants were authorized to participate. Informants, also known as confidential human sources, work with the FBI to provide information, but are not on the Bureau's payroll, undercover agents or employed by the FBI. Those are facts. And so for Stephen A. and Clay Travis and Sage Steele, all the rest of these people, let me help y'all out something. I'm about to help y'all out. The FBI and the state police and the DEA and the ATF and a sheriff's office and a local police department and a campus police department, even top flight security, doesn't come out and tell the public who the fucking informants are. Do you know why? Because the informants are inside the groups. The Proud Boys, that racist group, the FBI had people on the inside feeding them information. You can't arrest somebody unless a crime is committed or unless they were planning, let's say, to kill somebody. Every law enforcement agency has undercover cops. These were not undercover agents. They were informants. So Stephen A., what were Democrats lying about? What were they lying about? All of a sudden, MAGA's like, oh, no. This is all the FBI. No! They were informants. Tell us what's going on. Feed us information. In fact, one of the Proud Boys who's in prison, that Enrique dude, he was an informant.
That's right.
This is stupid. And I tried not to go here. I tried, and I'm sorry. Damn it, read. Call somebody. Check the damn facts. These MAGA people wanted the election results overturned. That was their aim. That's why more and more people are still being convicted because they participated in an insurrection. Never in American history had someone, an occupant of the Oval Office, try to overthrow the results of an American election. The report details the actions of the informants, Stephen A., Sage Steele, Clay Travis, and the rest of you MAGA yahoos. So Democrats weren't lying. The report breaks down that the FBI field offices did not send up the activities that were being planned. The report details their failures. It's all in the report, y'all. It's right here. Table of contents. You see right here. Pre-January 6th election-related protests. The protests. Law enforcement jurisdiction over the Capitol complex. Assess and investigate reports of information concerning potential criminal activity or threats. Share information with other law enforcement agencies. Support other law enforcement agencies. It breaks down the relevant field offices. It breaks down the messages, how it's collected, sensitive information. It goes on and on. Y'all, what you're seeing, I'm scrolling through for you this entire report. It lays out recommendations. It lays out the FBI's response to the report. This is all right here. So Democrats weren't lying. The facts are the facts. And that is sycophants of Donald Trump were doing all they can to overthrow the results. We know for a fact, because of the laws, the gun laws in D.C., they stashed weapons, cache of weapons outside of D.C., and it was going to send the message, bring the guns in. They were there with zip ties and other things. If you ain't trying to, why are you walking around with zip ties? Not Ziploc bags with food, zip ties. So I had to go here because I didn't know what the hell Stephen A was talking about. Like, you trying to blame Democrats? And what were they lying about? The FBI did not have agents involved. MAGA has been lying. They have been claiming that January 6th was staged by the FBI. More than 100 cops were injured in that insurrection attempt. And let me tell you something right now. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Donald Trump has even floated giving the January 6th defendants pardons on day one.
That's right.
I'm going to go ahead and say it. I do not put it past Donald Trump to sign their pardons on the steps of the Capitol during his speech. And I'm going to tell you right now, if Donald Trump says in his speech, or if he says, I'm going to sign the pardons right now, President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris and Second Gentleman Douglas Emhoff and Democrat Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries should all stand up and walk the hell out. If Donald Trump says, my first act is to pardon everyone involved on January 6, 2021, they should walk. First of all, I wouldn't show up. His punk ass didn't show up after he lost. I wouldn't show up. I wouldn't give him that type of deference. But I'm telling you right now, if he does that, I would stand up and walk out in protest because he is standing at the crime scene. He will be standing there and looking out at people who were beaten and attacked that day because he loved it, because it was all about him. And so I'm sick of people. And yes, Stephen A., they using your clip. But Stephen A., you wrong. You are 100% wrong in your analysis. And I didn't want to have to make this video, but you're wrong. Everything that you said in your video was wrong. Democrats did not lie about this. The fact of the matter is there were FBI informants. And again, there's a reason why law enforcement has informants to feed them information. I'm just going to show you this real quick. An informant exposes the inner workings of the KKK. If it wasn't for Joe Moore, a former Army sniper turned FBI informant, then we would have never known when the KKK was plotting to assassinate then Senator Barack Obama. That right there. He wrote a book called White Robes and Broken Badges. He was an FBI informant. This is what informants do. If I sat here, and matter of fact, I'm just going to pull this up because I need people to understand this whole deal. There's a book. It's called The Informant. The FBI, the KKK, and the murder of Viola Liuzzo. When Viola Liuzzo, a white mother from Michigan, was returning from the march in Montgomery back to Selma, a pickup truck came by and blew her head off. There was a black man who was sitting in the driver's seat who played dead. The only reason we know, it was a lonely road. If you go down that road between Montgomery and Selma, there's an actual marker there where she was murdered. The only reason we know what happened is because in the truck, it was 3 of them. In the truck, it was an FBI informant who was in the truck with the 2 other KKK members who shot and killed Viola Uzo. That brother who was next to her, I interviewed him in Selma a few years ago. That's what criminal informants do. So how silly is it to say that Democrats lied about January 6th? The FBI agents were not involved. It was informants who were feeding them information. And I am Jade, I am sick and tired of these MAGA people with their crap. And yes, I was greatly disappointed to see that rant from Stephen A. because he was absolutely, positively wrong. This is not about protecting Democrats, and it's not about criticizing Republicans. It's about speaking truth, and the report has been grossly misrepresented by these crazy, deranged MAGA people.
Yeah, well, and I guess the one positive light at the end of the tunnel is that Stephen A. Smith, his delivery and what he was saying was so confusing. Like you said, I listened to it for about 4 times, and I still could not figure out what he was trying to say. So the majority of us probably will not receive the message that he's attempting to deliver. But on the flip side of journalism, that's very unfortunate because a simple click of the AP News or any other source would have revealed what the actual report said. So it's kind of like a lazy journalism, if anything. So that's very disappointing. But the good side, no one probably understood what he was trying to relay.
Omakongo?
Stephen A. Smith is dangerous. And the fact of the matter is, as I've often said about him, I don't have a problem with somebody jumping into different genres, but you need to apply the same journalistic principles that you use in sports, Stephen A. Smith, to the politics. And you're not doing that in any way, shape, or form. You're serving as a puppet for these guys. It makes me question who you really voted for. And just like with the lady, Miss Lee, the Asian American woman, it seems like people are doing their best to curry favor. This with Trump and his ilk. This is factually inaccurate, and it's disgraceful that Stephen A. Smith continues to jump into politics when he does not know what he's talking about. And the fact that he would put insurrection with air quotes shows everything that it says about where he really sees things. And people need to really start calling him out like you did tonight when he's doing this type of nonsense. And I can't wait for the clip to share it. Stephen A. Smith, if you're going to jump into this fray, either know what you're talking about or just come out and say you're 100% MAGA so everybody can be clear about it, because you can't keep trying to straddle the fence and think anybody on this side of the world, meaning this side of the truth, is going to respect you.
I mean, this is the tweet, Candace, from Clay Travis, of course, one of these right-wing MAGA, Fox News people. It's interesting to see how many people in media are waking up to all the lies we've been told. Here's Stephen A. Smith on January 6th revelations. Dude, no, facts are facts. January 6th, they were insurrectionists. They attacked the Capitol. It wasn't this, peaceful walk in the park. They were just walking around the Capitol. That's total bullshit.
I think about maybe midnight, he's, when he was in bed, he might have said to himself, I think I read that wrong, because clearly he did not know what he was talking about. You can't have an undercover sting operation and know about it beforehand, which is what he was crying about. Why didn't we know about this beforehand? If we'd known about it beforehand, it would have been different. But this is because we were close to the election. You can't tell people about informants before the information that you want has been received or attained. It would take the sting out of a sting operation. But his air quotes was just mystifying. I don't know what he was talking about, putting insurrection in air quotes. It's as if somebody had said to him before he went on, look, we need to bring up our ratings. And he went up there and just said anything outlandish in order to get some clicks. It didn't make sense. And I know him, as somebody who is good at what he does in the world of sports. That's how he was able to get to where he was. Like he just said on the panel, he took such care in sports, knowing all about the history and all about the scores and the people involved in the teams. If you're going to cross over into this world where it involves politics, and you move the needle in how we are living our lives in terms of being in a democratic society, you have to do better. You cannot take on this role and cross over from sports into politics and then hang your hat by putting air quotes around insurrection when you saw what we saw on TV. That makes no sense. He has got to be in a moment right now where he's thinking, my bad, I don't think I read that right. That's my only guess in terms of what he's going through.
And let me also just remind folks, they were pissed off because of how people voted in 4 cities: Atlanta, Detroit, Philadelphia, and Milwaukee. January 6th is because Donald Trump was pissed that black people voted his ass out of office. January 6th absolutely was an insurrection. That was their aim. They were plotting. They had a plan of action. It has been confirmed by Peter Navarro. It's been confirmed by Steve Bannon. It's been confirmed by Ted Cruz. They were doing all they can. It's been confirmed by Vice President Mike Pence. And that's why Mike Pence wasn't on the ticket again. Because Donald Trump was pissed that Mike Pence did not break the law on his behalf. What we're not going to do is sit here and take a report and misrepresent it and lie about it. Ain't gonna happen. I don't care whether you're black, white, Republican, Democrat, independent, sports commentator, news commentator, don't matter. We're gonna stand on truth. And these people want to continue to lie about January 6th because they want those hooligans out. And every single person who has been convicted on January 6th, the punk asses should remain in jail. And they should serve their full sentence because their actions were shameful, despicable, and they were illegal. And I will not be silent about these thugs, these insurrectionists, because that's who they are. And if Donald Trump wants to use the power to pardon them, he is within his right. But let me remind you, if you accept a presidential pardon, you are admitting that what you did was wrong. And these people are flat out wrong. They are insurrectionists, and Donald Trump is an insurrectionist himself. And that's why I will never affix the title of president to his name, because he has disgraced the office, and he should never be referred to it, even if there were fools who voted for him to return. Jade Amakongo, as well as Candace, I appreciate y'all being on today's show. Thank you so very much for joining us. Folks, support the work that we do. We're going to continue to speak truth on this show. Not going to be silent, not going to be bullied, not going to cower. It's going to be truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Support us via Cash App by using the QR code from Stripe. This is how you can make your Cash App donations. I told you Cash App changed all of their policies, and so we had to get rid of our accounts. And support us that way. You can send your check and money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037 7-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Mind, available at bookstores nationwide. Get the audio version on Audible. And also, you can get the merchandise, Roland Martin Unfiltered. We got shirts and mugs and all kind of stuff. FAFO 2025. And, of course, Don't Blame Me. I voted for the black woman. Get that T-shirt as well. Go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, BlackStarNetwork.com. Go to RolandMartin.creator-spring.com. Folks, that's it. I'll see y'all right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla! Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?